Hello everybody, welcome to Nostalgia Goggles. I'm your host, Retro Gaming Nerd, and today we're gonna get cool. Like, way past cool. So what I do for reviews. So we're gonna be reviewing Sonic the Hedgehog for the Sega Genesis. Can't believe I said that as an intro. This game deserves better. So before we get into the story of Sonic, have you ever heard of the Sega Master System? Well, if you have, kudos to you. You're either a collector or you've made some very poor choices during the console war. Other than that, most likely you've never heard of it. The Sega Master System wasn't so bad, it just wasn't anything special, especially since Sega was competing with a magical company named Nintendo. And Nintendo had a mascot named Mario, and he was literally selling consoles. Our hero Sega had a mascot themselves, named Alex Kidd. If you've heard of him, kudos to you, man. You get a sticker or something. I don't know. Clearly enough, Alex Kidd wasn't selling consoles, so Sega needed to come up with something cooler, something edgier, something less confusing. Like, oh my god, whose idea was it? Was it you? No. Good. I mean, seriously, fucking rock, paper, scissors, man? What the fuck? But anyway, Sega needed a new mascot for a new console, which could compete with Mario. Their solution after long debate and discussion was Sonic the Hedgehog. And weirdly enough, it worked. They needed something hip and young and new. Mario was kinda old and fat and slow. So what's the story of Sonic the Hedgehog? Well, so the story is that the main antagonist, Dr. Robotnik, woke his fat ass up one morning and decided to imprison cute little animals inside of robotic suits, and then he was going to roboticize the world. Sonic the Hedgehog ain't having that shit, decides to put a stop to Dr. Robotnik's evil tomfuckery. And in the instruction manual, there's something with secret zones? It has some weird importance. Now, this game is a platformer, but not a normal platformer. It is a speed-based platformer, or better yet, a momentum-based. Unlike Mario, this game ran off of speed, or at least that's how it was marketed, at least. This game feels fast. This game feels responsive. It takes a few pages from Mario's with the power-ups and jumping on enemies. Also, like Mario, not every enemy can be killed by jumping on them. This is where the spin attack comes in, not to be confused with the spin dash. I'm just leaving that for clarification because you don't see that until the next game. There's also collectibles in the game, like Mario, except instead of coins, there's rings, and instead of floating boxes, there's television boxes, and there's also checkpoints, sign things. I have no clue what these things are, but they look fun and I want them in real life. Each stage has 3 acts. At the end of the 3rd act, you fight a boss. If you collect enough rings, you go to the special stage and collect the Chaos Emeralds. Well, you have to get the Chaos Emerald, but I digress. And that's pretty much the whole game. If you want more information, you should just play the game yourself. So without further ado, let's get to the good. This game has a lot of good in it, so if it sounds a little scattered, that's why. So let's get started with the presentation. This game looks great, especially for a mascot platformer. Each level is colorful, creative, and Sonic's sprite alone has a lot of personality. He always seemed so cool and collected. The music in this game is awesome and memorable. This game took full advantage of everything that the Sega had to offer. Each level is unique, as well as the enemies and the boss fights. This whole game was a unique experience that could compete with Nintendo, too. This game wasn't exclusive for the Sega Genesis, obviously, but that was a good thing. I know that this might sound a little nitpicky, but you could go the whole game without ever going to the secret zones, and you'll never know the importance of them until the last minute. Even when you do get all the Chaos Emeralds, the ending you get is, nothing really special. Now, the only thing that I can actually consider as bad in this game is some of the platforming. Since this game is a speed-based platformer, it tends to suffer from when you have to slow down and do platforming. Like in Marble Zone, when you have to jump to moving platforms to individual blocks. It feels like Sonic is going to slide right off of them, which makes this game pretty difficult. So, let's go to the final thoughts. So all in all, does Sonic the Hedgehog 1 for the Sega Genesis hold up? Yeah. Yeah, it does. See, Sonic the Hedgehog had an amazing start. It's not a perfect game, not even close. But it had a phenomenal start. See, this episode is heavily inspired by a friend of ours, Andre the Black Nerd. He made a video about Sonic the Hedgehog. And he brought up some really good points that we keep forgetting. Sonic the Hedgehog at the beginning was phenomenal. Like, it was a series that you've heard of. Even if you're not a gamer, you can be casual, hardcore, you've heard of Sonic. And we keep forgetting that Sonic the Hedgehog, alright, did some amazing things. Like in the 90s, it literally competed with Nintendo, the powerhouse, and succeeded. Now, that might not sound like anything now, because it's debatable on how you feel about Nintendo, but back in the day, man, that was a thing. That was amazing. People literally chose the Sega Genesis over a few Nintendo consoles. And you probably have never heard of the other Sega consoles. So let's just remember that Sonic is a great series. Now, he might have his ups and downs, but his starts were really good, and he's not as bad as most people say, I think. So, I've been Retro Gaming Nerd, and see you guys next time.